What's up, guys? Welcome to our podcast, Do Something Meaningful. This is a platform that we've created for our nieces, our nephews, our sons, and our daughters. This is for the next generation, the next person who's going to do something meaningful with their life, with their time in this world. You've been waiting to start a business, you've been waiting to start a podcast. This is a reason for you to start. Get started. Start now. Enjoy the episode. Resting, right?
Yeah, resting a lot. Much needed rest. How about yours?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good, work and a lot of writing and a lot of thinking and, expanding the business and sort of like looking at the environment and planning ahead. The trade war, current economic climate in the world, which is so fascinating. How could a decision by one man shift
Everything.
the world in the way that it has done? Not that there's anything significant that we can see now or touch, but just him on his desk saying, I'm signing executive orders, and it's being live streamed all over the world, and he's saying these speeches, saying these words over and over, week in, week out, and these decisions have made a huge impact on countries, companies, people's lives, people's incomes, and their households, and just being one man leader of one country, which makes me to wonder why so much power is being yielded by one individual. How did we end up here? How did we get here when in a world full of 8 billion plus people, someone sits down one day, one time and says, I want this to happen. And the words that come out of his mouth as a man, just like any other man, nothing particularly special about him, besides that his position of power, of which we have other men and women in a similar position, just in a different jurisdiction.
Right.
Same position, same power. But with this one, he sits there, he speaks, he writes, he declares, and the world shakes. So how did we end up here? How did we end up there? And I was looking at the figures, which was saying that out of the whole GDP of the world, the whole world's GDP, which is trillions, the US market, it has about 26% of the whole global GDP, which makes it a force. Just one country makes it a force. More than a quarter of the world's GDP is only by one country, and we have over 200 of countries in the world, right? So look at how amazing that is. Over 199 countries yielding 26% only to one country. And when that one country coughs, the world catches a cold or sneezes. So yeah,
it also just shows how powerful human beings can be. We look down upon ourselves. We are a powerhouse. Our words, they're really powerful, and we need to take that seriously. And if one man can have so much impact around the world, what more Jesus Christ?
Right.
What more? So it means he is above every government. Jesus is above every other power. So he's more powerful than one president of one country.
Yeah, which is a very good point, because I think people make it so unreachable, so make the idea of Jesus so unapproachable and unreachable in our minds, in our imaginations, because they say, well, how could one man just have that much impact? And that words you just used, one man, is the same words that the Bible uses when it says sin came into the world through one man's disobedience. And also through one man, we've been redeemed from sin, and through one man, we are reigning in life through him, who is Christ. So you wonder, is it that much unimaginable that the whole world could react or respond, or the destiny of the world could be determined by the actions and behaviors and decisions of one man? Is it that much out of our imagination, out of scope, out of reach, when right now we are seeing one man president making a certain impact, and the world is shaking because of one decision? So when it comes to Jesus, is it that much unbelievable? Or when it comes to Adam, the first man according to the scriptures? Is it that much unbelievable that his behavior, his decisions change the scope of the world, the destiny of the world? Is it that much unbelievable when this is happening just economically, right? Just economically, if this is happening, what about spiritually? What about in other aspects? So it's not that much out of reach or that much of a like a fairy tale story of the Bible. It's real stuff that we are seeing happening in our world right now, where one person decides that this is gonna go like this, and the course of events, the course and the destiny of the world is changing based on that. So yeah, that's a very interesting point. And my question to you would be, what advice or what lessons could we learn from what we're experiencing now, what we're encountering now? Because I have one that I've learned way before, way earlier, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Well, mine might not directly connected to business, but I think it's just a lot of self-awareness of the things that I can do and what I can use my words to change my own personal life. So if I decide to do something, it means that the world is going to bow to it. The same way Jesus, who lives inside of me, when he says a word, it will come to pass. So it just empowers me to say, you know what? The only difference between me and the president is just that I'm not the president right now. But if I say a word towards my career, towards my family, towards my children, if I make a decision today and write it down, and I speak it out loud to say my family is going to be healthy, there's going to be no diseases, no cancer, no failure, no death, that is going to come to pass in my life. Because if a mere man can do it, then I can also do it. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from me. So it's not far-fetched that I can make my own life to be as big as I want to be, to dream as big as I want to be, with no limitations at all.
Yeah, that's right. You are the president of your world. You're the president of your country. You're the CEO of your life. You're the president of your life. You're the president of your family. Your family is its own economy. I mean, you have a budget, you have a security, just like a country does, right? So you have to think about the things that a president does just on a different scale, but it's the same things, you know? You have to think about neighbors the same way that you have to think about that a president thinks about the neighbors of another country. I think you're right on that. And also, you as the CEO of your life, you as the CEO of your family, have the power to determine the course of destiny for your family and for your life. And you have to think about your future, economic future, spiritual future. You have to be aware of all that and write it down. And for me, the lesson that I go back to is because I was looking at how much countries are dependent on the USA, and it takes me back to a lesson I learned earlier from my mentor, who's still my mentor now, about dependence on one thing or putting your eggs in one basket, as people would say. I think they also use it in investment, where you invest in different securities and different assets just so that you can diversify your investment and not put your eggs in one basket, as they would say. Because I learned from Investment for Dummies, and there's a dummy series of books. I don't know if you've seen it, and it has personal finance, it has investment, it has a lot of things. Investing for Dummies, I learned that you could invest in stocks, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in a small business, so you can diversify your assets, right? So that if the stock market crashes, even though you lose something, you don't lose everything because you have real estate and you also have your business, right? You can invest in bonds and government bonds, which are very secure, right? Treasury bonds, which are issued by the government, right? So if they have the backing of a whole government, a backing of gold, then they're more secure, right? Compared to um, a public company listed on the stock market, which is more which is more susceptible to changes in the market, in the news, right? So that made me wonder as well, because my mentor gave us an assignment. It was sort of like in form of a case study. very few, like the beginning of our relationship, he gave us that case study and he asked us about how we would solve that question. It had to do with trade. It also had to do with business. And that case study was about he was manufacturing for a company, and that they had a relationship as well with the owner of that company that they were manufacturing for. So they were the supplier, and that supplier turned around, and that supplier was 90% of their business.
Wow.
And that supplier turned around and said, "We now want you to only supply." For example, let's say they were supplying 10,000. It's too small. Let's say 1 million. Let's say 1 million units, right? 1 million units. They're supplying 1 million units every year to that client, to that partner. And then that partner turns around and say, "We now only want you to supply 750,000 units and not 1 million units."
Right.
So you see how much business you're losing? You're losing 25% of your business. I mean, 75% of your business. You're remaining with only 25% of the business. And that's a lot because this guy is 90% of your business. You understand? Yeah. So your whole business is sort of like at the detriment of
Yeah,
closing
it-
down
listen, yeah.
because only 10% is coming from elsewhere. 90% is coming from this partner, this guy. And this guy is saying that I'll only need 250,000 units from you, and the rest 750 I'll get it from somewhere else. And just like that, out of nowhere, right? So now the issue is, what do you do? What do you do? That's the issue. That was the question in
That's a
the
tough
assignment.
one.
And he also included things like currency. The exchange rate at the time was bad. So the cost of getting the inputs to supply, I'm trying to use similitude so I don't reveal too much because this is something personal. This is something that I need to keep the privacy of the information. So I'm using similitudes. But basically, the exchange rate at the time that they were using to get the inputs was also becoming stronger. So they had to buy in a more competitive currency and then sell in a less competitive price or currency. You get it? Yeah. So the currency that they were buying the in was getting stronger. And then the currency that they were selling, which they were being paid in, was getting weaker. You see? So what would have been better was if the currency that they were selling in was stronger and the currency they were buying in was weaker, then it's great because there's more difference, there's more profit, right? That was the other issue. So I came up with a suggestion on the currency part of things, right? That you could find a way to, because there's an exchange rate issue here, right? So you could find a way to, which we now do now actually. I don't know if I should be saying this, but which we now do, where you find a person in the same place you are in who needs the things that you do, and or who needs the money that you have, and you have the product that they need. It's like barter trade. So the same
Yes.
person you are in who needs something in the different jurisdiction that you buy something from, right? So if you are in the same country, you do an exchange between the two of you, and that exchange represents another exchange in a different country between the two of you as well. So that you don't have to actually go through the borders of the country.
But that is the basics of the financial system. That's where all emanated from. That is where it stemmed from in the beginning. So you just do realize that it is a cycle. Sometimes we have to go back to the old ways because the old ways were the standard.
Yeah,
So
barter trade. Yeah, but that was just one part of the question. The other part of the question was, what do we do in terms of negotiation? Because we need to negotiate this deal with this guy so that we don't lose, so that we don't lose much of our business. How do you negotiate with this guy saying that because he represents 90% of our business, and he just wants to give us only 250,000 units when we're making 1 million units before. So what is our negotiation tactic? How do we negotiate? What do we do? How do you approach the negotiation? That was the question that he gave us. What would you do if your customer comes to you and says, I want only 250,000 units. I don't want 1 million units anymore from you. What would you do? You have salaries waiting, you have equipment running, and you're expecting that orders are going to come through. And then only a quarter comes through. You know this guy needs to sell these things. He needs these things. So he's definitely getting it from somewhere.
Yeah. I think the first thing that I would do, I would look at where he's getting his other products and also try to.
If you manage to find that information. But obviously, in an industry, there are different players, right? So you have like potential answers. You may not know the exact one, but it's an
Yeah.
industry that you're familiar with, so you might suspect a few. Yeah.
I'd like to speculate on why the other person and not me, and maybe try to improve on my products. That would be number one. And then from the top of my head, of course, I would need to think more on this. But from the top of my head, I think I would also try to lower the price. I might lose, but I'll still stay in the deal. Try to lower the price whilst I try to diversify, maybe look for other clients who can probably, take the other 750,000, but I'll lower the price for him. I'll be like, okay, look, how about you take half now? Take 500,000, and whilst I'm trying to, look for another supplier or something like that. Yeah, but that's just from the top of my head. If I sleep through the night, I'll come up with something better.
Yeah, it's a good answer. It's a good answer because you mentioned one thing. First, you look at yourself and you look
Mm,
at your product and you look at what you could improve. That's a good point. First point, you look at yourself. And then second point, you negotiate so that he takes more, right? Even at a lower price, which means that you still get more. If it might not be equivalent monetary value, but it's still more because they're taking more units, right? Instead of maybe 750, they take 500,000. But which is also like I was doing a tutorial with Shakira earlier. She was asking me about price elasticity of demand because
mm,
she's studying for A-level exams, and how
yeah.
total revenue is affected by price and demand and stuff like that. So going back to the answer, he said very similar to you, but in more detail. He said that one, he went back, he prayed about it.
Mm,
He asked himself a question that actually Daddy always used to tell me, which is one of the most important things I've learned from him. One of the most important lessons I've learned from Daddy, my biological father.
I think I know
He
the
told,
question.
you know the question, so you must know because it's something he repeatedly taught us about. The question was, if anything, if you find yourself, which is a very also weird thing to say, which I don't like because I hate victim mentalities. I hate having a victim mentality. Why me? Why did this happen to me? What? Crying and moaning about things. I hate that. And it's really important. I think it's something that he instilled in me also so that I don't do that. Because now I hate the victim mentality. I'm not a victim, no matter what, right? And also now he said, this is very important, my son. I want you to know this. Wherever you find yourself in, whatever situation you find yourself in, whatever happens to you, whether it's an accident or whatever it is, whatever happens to you, sit down, ask yourself, what part did I play so that I
Yeah.
end up here? Oh, thank God for my father. He told me, ask yourself,
Mm,
yes, yes, I am not feeling well, or yes, I am in an accident, or yes, we got robbed. because we got robbed one night.
Yes,
I
I
remember
remember.
we woke up, the door was open. We just felt wind on our we just felt wind on our faces. You know, it's the only time we've been robbed in our lives, and
Yeah.
it was such a strange experience. It is good to live through it and laugh through it. I mean, they didn't take much. We didn't have much at the time anyway. So, but the little we had, we valued it a lot. We valued it so much. Our TV, our VCR, I don't know what else they took, right? In that situation, you ask yourself, for me to end up here, okay, yes, I might cry. Yes, I might complain. But for me to end up here, what part did I play in all this? In all this?
Right.
Because the truth is, you don't just end up somewhere. You don't just end up in a certain position, in a certain place, in a certain financial situation. You don't just end up there. It's not just by accident that you end up there. There's events leading to it. There's decisions leading to every situation you end up. And those events, you participate in those events, you participate in those decisions so that you end up where you are. I know people don't like talking about it, but certain things happen to people in certain places. Maybe they didn't know that it was going to happen. You know, people in relationships, there's violence that happens. People in certain places that go to parties or events, you know, social events, things happen, right? And on the outside, you might look at it as it was that evil person that came into the party. It was that evil person that came into my life, or I fell for the wrong person, right? And it's right that you're saying you fell for the wrong person. The person was wrong, but the issue is you fell for the person. I attended a bad event. The issue is you attended it. You drove there. You walked there. You were at your peaceful home. You walked there. Or maybe you didn't move, you were at your home, but someone came in and broke in, right? So you
Right.
ask yourself still, we say this not because are, we are never to blame, or
Yeah.
we are always the blame, or it's always our fault. We say this because it's important to take responsibility for your actions, even unknowingly. It's important to always look back and reflect so that you build up a fortress.
Yeah, and I that Daddy used to say that in that same context, he would say, if you remove yourself from the situation, from the scenario, you realize that everything that happened was not supposed to happen. So you
Hmm.
contribute, right?
Yeah. So, what was my contribution to the issue? What was my contribution to this incident that happened? That's the question. I have this much money in my bank account, but I need this much money for me to end up here. What happened?
And
Right?
there's also, I don't know if you know the five finger demonstration, where if you point at someone, these two fingers are pointing at the other person, but three are pointing at you. So no matter what the situation is, yes, you can look at the other person, but it's two fingers that are pointing to the other person. These other three fingers are pointing at you. So it means you have more to look at yourself rather than looking at the other person.
Yeah. So, it came down to my mentor. He looked at himself, he looked inside, and God spoke to him and said, well, what did you do to end up in this situation? Number one, you were overly dependent on one person's business. You're overly dependent on one person's business. So you look at what you were doing as your business. That's his business. He can decide what he wants to do with his business anytime. It's his decision, right? But what about you? Your business. Decide what you want to do. Do you want to be overly dependent on his? Because if you are 90% dependent on his business, he owns your business. He owns 90% of your business, right?
That's deep, yeah.
First point. So he was at fault because he was overly dependent on one person's business or one client's business. That's his first fault. So he looked at himself. What did I do wrong? That's the first thing he did wrong. He needs to fix that. The diversification that we just talked about. And then second point, what you also said, you negotiate for more. And negotiation only exists or is only possible by one thing. There's only one thing that makes negotiation even possible. We did mention it last time when we were talking about negotiation of war between countries and AI technology and simulation. We talked about it, one thing, which is leverage.
Yeah.
If there's no leverage on either party, there's no negotiation. Negotiation doesn't exist if there's no leverage. If you don't have something I want, if I don't have something you want, we can't negotiate.
Because I'm already uninterested. What's in it for me? Why am I going through all the trouble? Why do I have to listen to you?
Exactly. There's no negotiation.
Mm.
I also try to have this mentality when I'm dealing with customers, because sometimes we feel like, because obviously when you're a supplier, we make socks for clients. When you're a supplier, you sort of have this mentality of, oh, I need the order, right? So I need the order. I need to go the extra mile. I need to, you know, work overtime. I need to impress my clients so that I get the order, because order means money. But let's be fair. They also need the order. They also need the product. I need the order. They need the product. They need a good product from a good service. So they need me as much as I need them. I know that there's competition, there's other suppliers, but there's a reason they are coming to me. So far, let's look at why are they here? Why did they come to me? They've come to me because we have experience, we have expertise, we have good quality, we have a good price. Now they've come. We've started the conversation. Let's not start at, oh, thank you so much for coming. Where would it be without you? What would we do if you didn't come? Thank you so much. It shouldn't be like that. It's, okay, welcome. I think we can do a good partnership. Let's see what you're looking for, and let's see if we can be a good match and we can deliver what you're looking for. And if it's good for you, it's good for us. We work together, we do good business. Simple as that. It's not like, because you're being the order, I worship you. No, it's not like that. So that's something, that a mentality I'm trying to get over, because when I was new at my work, I was thinking, if I get the order, it's great, it's good for me. So I sort of like bow to the customer. But I learned that it shouldn't be like that. They need me as much as I need them. So it's a
And
partnership.
I also think that you need to build a lot of confidence in your product, to say if someone comes in and then they are trying to negotiate from an $8 price and they are like, give me for $2 and I'll buy 1,000,000 items from you. I think you have to build your self-confidence in your product to say, you know what, thank you very much for the offer, but no, I will not go down from $8 to $2. I can negotiate up to $6, but I'm not going to $2.
Hmm.
Because some we don't really believe in what we are doing as much as we should, to the extent that we'll be like, well, maybe I can reduce the quality and I'll give them at $2. Like, wow, this is a big order. It's like 1,000,000 products. Maybe I might never sell so much. Maybe this is my opportunity, to really go big. But I think to stand and say, that is really good, but can we negotiate? Can you get them at $6? Because I can't get to $2 because I cannot produce the same quality as well. So building a confidence in your product and being able to stand and say, well, that is a good offer, but I'm going to pass it.
Yeah. It's good to be sure of your product, and it's good to be confident and take a stand, take a position. No matter what it is, you have to take a position, you have to be confident. And they will perceive that confidence as well from you and see your position. And yeah, it's important. And you have to be prepared for these negotiations. You need to know what others are selling it for. You need to know what others are producing, what kind of quality, what kind of product. And you also need to know, we have what we call manufacturer recommended selling price, MSRP, which is like, yeah, so you have to have all that information. We are going to make this product at this much for you. We recommend you sell it at this much so that you have this much profit. You have that
Yeah.
all figured out as a manufacturer when you're giving it to someone who's going to buy from you, right? So you already have that kind of idea of, oh, I've thought about your margins. You're going to make this profit if you buy from us at this price. I've thought about you as well. That empathy in there should be put in. So going back to the case study, he looked at it and he said leverage.
Mm.
He asked himself, why did this guy ask me to make only 250,000? If he found a better supplier, and he wants to do, and he took away 750,000 units from me out of the 1 million. He didn't take all the 1 million. He took only 750,000 and he left me the 250,000. Why did he only take 750,000? Why didn't he take the whole 1 million order and go with it to that other supplier that he found? If he found someone else, that's the question he asked himself. Why didn't he take all the 1 million and go and said, I'm stopping business because I found someone better? Because clearly he
Mm.
found someone, right? So why didn't he take all the 1 million and go? Why only 750? He asked himself that question. And if he's confident enough to take 750,000, obviously he doesn't respect you because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of business. So clearly he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart to say, let me leave some little bit for you so that you don't crash and crumble. No, you've already taken
More than
a lot. You've taken 3/4 already. So clearly you have no respect. So this is not about respect. So the leverage I have here is this guy needs me to make the rest. That's what he figured out. He needs me to make the rest 250,000. That he found for 750,000 cannot make them all at that quality or at that price or whatever. He cannot. So he needs me to make the rest 250,000. That's what they figured out. So that's his leverage.
mm.
That's his leverage. So when he's going into negotiation, he's going to talk about, if you want us to do this, then we're going to have to raise the price
Mm.
because we need to break even.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't operate. There's no point of producing 250,000 if you're not breaking even.
Yeah.
We need to at least break even. So we need to raise the price. You need to give us time because this is too sudden for us. It's going to hurt our business. So he was honest. He was upfront. He told them, we need to break even. So we need to raise the price if we're going to supply this much units. And they know that they're going to take it because they don't have another supplier to make the rest 250,000. So
Yeah.
they raised the price. And
Yeah.
also, they started looking also, I mean, on a personal basis, started looking at other clients to supply because as God had told him that he was too dependent on one client for his business. So he took charge of his own business and his own destiny for his business, and also he negotiated based on leverage. So I was learning from that session that leverage is important for negotiation. You need to have leverage.
Yeah, that's really smart. I remember actually reading some parts of this book at some point. So I do remember the story very well. But yeah, that was really smart. But I think I read this book like 2 years ago or something. I think you sent it to me, if I'm not wrong or something.
Yeah,
Not sure.
so that's the lesson I learned, and I was thinking about it, about how we end up in the state we're in terms of China having a large dependency on the US. I think it's time for China to diversify its supply chain, to diversify its client base to other markets like Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and all that, so that they have other markets, even though the USA is the largest market, consumer market, but it's time to diversify. And also the China business, which I think it has been changing over time. They've not only been dependent on manufacturing, becoming also a consumer market, they're also becoming entertainment and technology hub as well. So that's also good.
I
But
think
yeah.
already, I think Chinese products are already there in Europe. They're already there in Africa. They're already there across the world. But probably what they need to do is just to increase the amounts they've been supplying. Yeah. But I think they're already there because most of the things, if you check the tag, it's written made in China. Hey, that's 80% of anything that you buy in Zimbabwe. I remember even like getting a T-shirt and it's written made in China, and
Mhm.
you get it all like Jet. So I think Chinese products are still very prominent, but probably they need to just increase the amounts that they are supplying so that it is a significant amount.
Yeah. And when you're mentioning the lesson that we learned from the current situation of the trade war, you did mention that I can be as big as I want. I am responsible for my world. I was thinking, yeah, because the one of the philosophies I set for this platform was that doing something meaningful means you create a little bit of heaven on earth. You bring a little heaven on earth. You bring a little light to your world. You make your world better. You leave it better than you found it. And I was thinking about this concept of heaven as we conclude that basically, I mean, heaven is not about the place that you're going to go to. Heaven is heaven because of what is present in the environment. So whether you're in the US or whether you're in China, I did talk about success is geographical before in the previous episode. Yes. And I said in that episode, before you move, you need to ask yourself, can I first change this environment before I move? Because sometimes it's not about the environment, it's about you. So because I was saying I've heard people who've moved to a different country looking for greener pastures, and then they found it even harder there in that country. Because in the first place it wasn't about the country. So sometimes you have to change the environment you are in if it's not suitable for your business or for your gift or for your livelihood, right? And what makes heaven heaven is obviously we know the presence of God.
Yeah.
So in our lives, what makes heaven heaven is having a beautiful family, a good life, a beautiful home, healthy lifestyle. When a man finds a woman that he loves, that's heaven. When your business gets that first client,
Yeah.
when you make that first profit, that's heaven. And you make your environment heavenly. You bring heaven to your own world, to your own earth, by your actions, by your decisions. So it goes back to wherever you find yourself in, ask yourself, what is my part to play in this? Is this life I'm living my heaven on earth? If it's not, how can I be God in this environment?
Yes.
How can I say, let there be light to which dark place? Where is the darkness in my environment? Where should I command light? What words should I speak? What should I change so that I can live in a heavenly environment? And look around you. If your life is being affected by the actions of someone, ask yourself, why am I so offended by this person?
Yeah, you're
Why?
giving them so power. Why do they have so much power over me? I think
Right.
for us to learn and unlearn certain things as we grow older. There's certain principles, there's certain views of life that we don't really give ourselves time to take charge of our own lives. If we do
Mm,
realize, if we take more charge, we'll be able to notice that, oh no, I cannot be offended because that's not who I am. This person said something about me, but that's not who I am, so I don't resonate with that. And you're not angry. You're actually laughing at that situation, and the person's like, why are you not angry? They're even shocked themselves, like, I thought that is offensive. So I think in conclusion, to just say we have more power than we actually think we do, and to take charge of our lives and to make the right decisions, and to always listening to the Holy Spirit that is inside of us, because He does speak through us in everything that we do. So to hear Him and to be able to take charge and stand in what we believe in. I've been saying this week, I dare believe in Jesus Christ. In anything, I dare believe Him. I'm close to, I've been taking these affirmations, I'm close to labor and everything, and I've been saying to myself, the curse has been lifted. I'm not supposed to feel whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nothing. I shouldn't be shocked at anything happening. The nurses and the doctors are supposed to be shocked, like, why are you not screaming? I'm not supposed to be screaming, because I dare believe in the name of Jesus. He said it is finished, and that's it. He took all that was for me. So I'm not supposed to feel any pain. So yeah, let's take charge. Let's actually believe in what God did. I remember during COVID times, I also asked myself this question. I said, if Jesus was here, let's just say He was here during His 33 years of life, was He going to be vaccinated? No, He was not going to. So I'm not going to. Same thing. Do I really, really believe in Him and what He did? If I really do believe, then there are certain things that I'm going to do. There are certain things that I'm not supposed to go through. I'm not supposed to go through pain in my body. I'm not supposed to go through fear of diseases, or fear of, maybe if I walk outside, I'm going to be hit by a bus. Not me. I'm a child of God. Exactly. So, well, thank you so much. This has been a good one as well.
I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. I'm guessing this time next week we're going to be more.
Yeah.
By this time next week we're going to be more.
We're being fruitful and we're multiplying.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. We upload a video and a podcast every Sunday. Just look out for it. Subscribe to our channel. And let us know if you have any thoughts or suggestions. Let us know if we can help you and support you to start your own podcast or to start your business. Let's help each other to do something meaningful. See you on Sunday. Cheers.